Do your planes look like this, and do you have some time to waste while you are climbing into the battle? You can now use the free Golden Eagles app to help you with the stock grind. If you sign up now with my referral code EPGEK, you will receive 10 Golden Eagles upon signing in, and most importantly, you will be giving me a small cut of your earnings. And every time we reach 5,000 Golden Eagles, just like we did today, I will be able to host a bit of a giveaway, but I'll give you more details at the start of the actual video because I know 80% of you will probably skip this. Welcome back, and today we are going to be playing the VB10. It's actually the first time I took it out, so I'm going to take you along the journey of me learning this vehicle and seeing what it can do. If you're wondering what the clapping sound is in the background, those are not my massive ass cheeks. There's actually a bit of a thunderstorm going around, and if you're wondering what the sound is in the background, that might just be it. First time today we are gonna have a little bit of a giveaway, 5,000 Golden Eagles to a random person that comments within the first 48 hours of the video going live, because I do want to give it to someone that's actually subscribed and watches these videos as they come out. So if you want to enter, just subscribe and comment something, doesn't really matter what it is, as long as it's something that I can look at. And then we're gonna put all the names in a box and we are just gonna pick one at random. So if you want to win 5,000, feel free to leave a comment down below. YouTube and Patreon members will get more entries depending on the tier, so leave your username from Patreon at the end of your comment. If you are a YouTube member, I just will be able to tell. So, what is the VB10 like? It's a bit of a boat, it doesn't climb particularly well, and that's kind of normal because, well, it's an attacker. The main selling point here is going to be the airspan together with the Hispanos. I'm going to be using stealth rounds and they are serving me incredibly well, and that's of course something that we know from Advance. So we have an attacker with decent guns, not the most amount of ammo, 150 rounds per gun, but they do hit pretty hard, and we just know that we have an attacker on our hands. So we are going to play it a little bit differently other than a fighter. If it ends up being extremely well in the performance department, I just will be pleasantly surprised, but going into it, I will be flying it a little bit more careful and just want to see, pick and choose, and especially try to get 1v1s. I don't want to get into 2 or 3v1s, I don't want to deal with very good planes with a high altitude advantage. What I want to do is slap wyverns from 1.1 kilometers away. So this is my first start process. I'm going to rely on my aim, I'm going to rely on the guns, and I'm going to rely on my team. If I can't do any of those things, we start going into the next phase and look what we can actually do. Just as right here, we don't have the altitude here, we don't really have the energy, but this guy is busy with dogfighting basically everyone around, so I'm able to just kind of third party him. Main selling point again, aim is going to be important, and so is positioning. So let's look at the first game that I did in this plane. This is the actual first time I've ever taken the VB10 out. I don't use it in test flights, I haven't used it in custom battles. This is the first time I actually felt the touch, not of a woman, because I haven't done that before, but the touch of this plane. I see an XP50, I see a second XP50, and I see the P51 and the P63 in the background. Now I know that I'm a VB10, and I know from fighting this thing that it's a bit of a hotspot plane. People like to dive on you, people like to go for you because, well, you are in their eyes a free kill. And for the most part, at least for me fighting them, that is correct. So I know that these XP50s are probably gonna look for an easy kill because they are on a premium plane, they are on an XP50, and the XP50 is one of those planes that's either flown by the biggest tryhards or the biggest shitters, and there's really no one in between. This XP50 looks to be holding its altitude, looks to be somewhat careful, but I'm gonna take a look if he takes the bait with my friendly B-17. Now this might look like a bit of a scummy move, and in a way it is, but if the XP-50 just slams me out of the air, I can't help the B-17 either. So I'm gonna try to make it so that the B-17 tries to help me by baiting him into flying into the other direction. Luckily, the B-17 as of right now didn't actually die, and the XP-50 will probably recommit or just fly away. Either of these is good for us, but I want him to recommit so that I can actually pick him off as he goes back for the B-17. And if we're lucky, the B-17 might just slam him out of the air with the 50 cals. Now I'm just too late, the B-17 goes down, but now I have a little bit of position here and I have a bit of energy to actually deal with the XP-50. The XP-50 goes into a little bit of a horizontal turn and then pulls straight up. And I'm gonna have the energy and the position here to get one shot in. If I miss that, I die. Gladly, he was slow enough and he was in a bad enough of a position to just click him out of the air. And as you can see, Hispanos, yet again, are just very good, especially if you manage to hit more than one round. Here comes the P63, I have a J21 next to me. Now I'm not gonna expect a J21 to perform too well, but at least he is here to take a bit of pressure off. So whoever the P63 goes for, and he needs to go for the J21 because he is one, funnily enough, probably in the battle plane, he's also behind me and higher. So I'm expecting him to go for the J21, and then I want to turn around and actually start 2v1ing him. We are at altitude here, we are basically alone, and the fact that I don't have the best performance or the best staying power is actually gonna make it so that I can somewhat deal with this threat. The issue is that the J21 is just flying straight, so I'm gonna turn around in time so I can actually close the gap so he doesn't end up on both of our 6s. So I'm turning a bit slowly to not lose too much speed. The J21 is completely oblivious even though I called him out. And here comes the P63. Luckily the P63 is going a bit quicker and we are able to actually sit inside his loop because we are actually slower than him. So he's gonna go vertical, and if he keeps this turn up I am probably going to die. Unfortunately for him, he's gonna end up flying straight for a bit and he's gonna give me a very fat angle. The angle which is enough for me to detach both of his wings and for him to take a trip back to the hangar. I've now killed 2 enemies within higher altitude, and none of the kills made it so that I needed to know my plane. There's 2 ways of playing this game. The first one is knowing your vehicle and what it can do versus the other vehicles. And the second one is simply knowing how to fly a plane. You don't have to know how to fly this particular plane, but you just need to know how to fly a plane. And here is gonna be a third example in a row of the same match. Because as of right now, I still don't have a good grasp of what this vehicle is capable of. I do have a little bit of a grasp. I do know that it doesn't climb particularly well, that it doesn't compress too much, that it turns alright, but that it doesn't have any sustained kind of turn rate, because it just doesn't have the energy and it doesn't have the retention. The F4U is pitching up for us, and because we have a lot of altitude and a lot of speed, I'm able to just kind of pull up over his nose, and by the time he starts getting closer, I will just drop my landing flaps, because I know in this kind of position, he is not gonna be able to pitch up into us. And that's just me knowing the enemy vehicle. P51 pops up and we do the exact same thing. We keep our altitude, we keep our speed, and I'm just gonna put it into a little bit of a horizontal turn. I wait for the P51 to start losing its speed. I don't know if it's a D30, a D10 or a D20. It doesn't really matter, because it doesn't matter if he has 1000, 2000 or even 3000 horsepower in that kind of position. He is not gonna have the engine power to get its speed back up quick enough to get outside of my gun. I understand that what I'm showing you is kind of confusing, because I'm trying to teach you about learning a plane. And the reason why I took this vehicle and why I'm not particularly talking about the vehicle in itself, the VB10, is because I want this to be applicable to multiple vehicles that you might be able to take out. And I did the same thing with the Dornier 335, because I think it's very important to know your vehicles. I think it's very important to know exactly what plane is capable of doing what. At least in the basic sense of the word. And what I'm doing right here is really not talking about plane performance, because I think it's important that you know how to fly in most circumstances. 9 out of 10 times it's not about how you fly your plane. It's about how you fly a plane. The first, I think, 5,000 games that I did, I didn't really know the performance relatively to other vehicles. I just kind of played it slow, I took my time, and I started to learn energy states and stuff like that. Once you start understanding those, you can start putting your plane in the mix and what it's capable of in certain scenarios. You start making exceptions for the rule instead of the other way around. Just like here with the I-225. I have 2 guys around me, one is lower, so I'm just going to be ignoring him no matter what plane it is. It does help that it's a J21 because he doesn't have the performance. I go ahead on with the I-225 because I know that I have good guns. And then we just kind of turn for him. I'm looking at the J21, I notice that the I-225 is not able to complete his turn in time, so I'm just going to send it for him. We then shoot a bit, we get another crit. And now the J21 is just kind of below us, because we spend the time going horizontal, we spend the time fighting the I-225 and basically ignoring the J21, and now he is damaged, he is crit, and we can just simply go vertical. This guy is going too slow to really be a threat, unless he's something like a Zero or a Spitfire, and that's what I mean about knowing the fundamentals about your enemy. Know that your enemy is very good at turning, then you might not want to do a certain maneuver. If you know someone is extremely quickly, you want to maybe alter your battle plan a bit, but you really don't need to know other than the basics of a plane, knowing that the Zeros and Spitfires are things that you don't really want to dogfight. All you need to know is a plane exceptionally good at a certain thing? If the answer is yes, you need to know what, and otherwise it really won't affect your average gameplay that much. That's something that you want to keep for the next level. Now this guy hits us with his 30mm, we are kind of lucky that we didn't simply explode, and we are flying over a P-47N and a Yak-3. The P-47N is a plane that we know is a bit of a boat, and in this particular case we know that the P-47N is also pretty bad, but at the same time it doesn't matter because we have too much energy. He starts spraying at us with his 4000 rounds of 50 cal, and one of the bullets of course magically makes an appearance, a bit of a cameo inside of my engine, which is something that's of course very uncommon and definitely never happens in this game. I swear heat-seeking 50 cals are the bane of my existence. So right now we are diving on the Yak-3. Normally I would say go for the P-47 because he is higher. However, the Yak-3 is also more behind. So I can make a pass on the Yak-3, kind of persuade him into flying away because I want to go for the P-47, but because I only have one engine, I'm scared that if I go for the P-47, that the Yak-3 will continue on to go for me while flying below me, and he will eventually catch me. That's just a little bit of game sense. That's something you don't really have to worry about for now, but that is just something that I had in the back of my mind. So I wanted to push the Yak-3 away because I'm in critical condition, and then pitch up for the P-47. We take down the P-47, the I-225 goes back for landing, the Yak-3 goes back for a landing, and the J-21 goes back for a landing. The 109 just took off, so the 109 is now the highest person. The Donye335 was talking mad shit in the chat, saying can't touch this, and then he gets digged down by the BF-109, and that's really the biggest reason why I kept this part of the clip in. But it's also to show you what the development of the game is right now. We have 4 enemies left. The I-225 got slammed in the meantime as we were RTB, so we have the 2 Yak-3s, a J-21, 3 of which are all too low to really contest us right now. So essentially, as of right now, we are 1v1 with this BF-109. It's the Italian 109, so it's either an F4 or a G2. I am dearly hoping it's a G2, but because he already gotten 3 kills throughout the match, we know that it's a G model, and that it's something that I don't need to be as scared of. Luckily we are alone here, I have all my ammo, I can basically spend 150 rounds per kill. So I'm gonna spray about 100 in the head-on, a few rounds meet his vehicle, and he combusts into spare parts. Which one do we go for now? Because we do have the altitude advantage, we do have good position, and we do have good energy. The issue is that they are everywhere. If I go for any of these, the other 3 will converge on me, and this is the issue with being in the middle of a triangle basically. So I'm just gonna see who I can scare to dive down, who I can actually scare into flying away, and who I can bait into an engagement that he doesn't want to take, mainly looking at the J-21. The J-21 is a plane that I can very handily deal with, even though I don't have the best performance myself. And the J-21 is pitching up for us, he is flying basically straight at us, and the Yak-3 did a bit of a loopy loop behind us, and he opened up the separation a little bit. So now I have the room to do whatever I want with this J-21. So I decide to fly a little bit sideways, I decide to let him climb up to us for as long as possible, and then I just wait for him to basically stall out. We then dive on him, and we just completely shred him out of the sky. And as you can see, I am not trying to be ammo conservative. I don't need to be. I have plenty of ammo, I need to kill these people, and I need to make sure that I actually down whoever I engage, because I'm flying an attacker with not the best climb rate, with not the best acceleration, with not the best retention, and I don't have the turn rate to simply kind of meme turn everyone. So as of right now, I'm keeping my altitude, I'm keeping my speed. However, the Yak-3 behind us isn't much slower. He is not much lower either, so from that you can basically determine that the energy advantage that I possess here is probably the calorie equivalent of something like a Big Mac. It's not gonna be enough to deal with the Yak-3. The Yak-3 is one of those vehicles that you need to be wary of in basically any plane that you are flying at the BR. As of right now we are a little bit of a low BR, and I can maybe try to dogfight him. I can probably get 1 or 2 shots in, but if he dodges any of those, I'm dead. And I can keep climbing, I can keep flying away from my teammate, but that's going to not allow him to help us out. So instead, I am going to dodge the Yak-3, and I'm just gonna throttle drop completely, because I'm not really worried about anything here other than making the Yak-3 and as easy as a shot as I possibly can. And at this point I'm going much slower, and I'm in a bit of a rough position if we were alone, but because I have the backup of my teammate, I just need to make sure that I go as slow as possible, that he gets reversed, and if he then tries to loop back over, he becomes an absolute easy target for the G2 that's directly next to me. So I might not have actually outmaneuvered him, but because of the teammate that was there, I made him unable to actually kill me. So I can play it a little bit differently. And this is why it's so important to read your situation and don't try to force certain maneuvers and don't try to force certain techniques into basically every scenario. At the end of the day, doing the right thing at the wrong time still ends up being the wrong thing. EPGEK decides to put up a little bit of a tent and starts camping next to the mountain. And yes, to my Dutch eyes, that is a mountain. Don't forget about the giveaway, and you'll see me all in the next one.